that.
Because here's the thing.
It's amazing to me.
Here's the thing. Here's why. One, it's hot. Two, right?
You don't look like an insurance salesman. Like, you don't look like
Correct.
you're in insurance.
Right.
You look like you're coming to train me.
Right. So the psychology of Middle America, right? We're not meeting like people in the stockbrokers. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, now there's a percentage, right? There's like a 5% I might walk into somebody's, but like to me, I'm always gonna look clean, right? I'm not gonna look like a bum, but to me, it's the way you come across.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like your posture.
If you were in a suit, you would probably intimidate them. They would say, they think you were like, you know,
Yes.
the IRS
Right.
coming to like do something wrong.
Yeah, I'm not gonna play that game. The one thing I learned early was the psychology of who we meet. I was like, okay, within the first like 2 months, I was like, okay, this is Middle American clients that, what's great about the Middle American client is this. They really, really need it because they don't have that much money. So therefore they have to protect what they have. So there's a higher sense of urgency. And when you kind of like get on the level of what they lose, right, they get it. Because to me, the thing you always have to convey in insurance in doing this is, it's about loss, not gain. So one of the biggest things when I'm kind of going through financial inventory with people and figuring out what makes sense is I'm literally breaking down, okay, when you die, we lose X amount of money. So that doesn't mean, so the reverse is if you walk in and you say, hey, what do you want? And they say, I want a $100,000 policy. Like, everybody's gonna tell you they want the most expensive like thing or the most highest death benefit. But what do you actually need? Like, I want a Corvette, but I need a car to get from point A to point B, and I can't afford it. So let's get you the, whatever. What else?
It all plays with the part, the way some of the clients you do research on and everything else when you go into their household, or whether if you go into their business, you know what I mean, you'll dress the part accordingly and everything else. So it's just like, you know, if you're going to a certain neighborhood, you know what I mean, you know how to dress, but some of these clients, you know, you're dealing with a high net worth client. I purchased a lead the other day, like Smart Financial, you know what I mean, and when I contacted the person, she said, well, you know, I just want to deal with straight A-rated company. It's okay, hey, yeah, you know, I work for Mutual of Omaha and affiliates. We're A-rated company. So I know how to position that client, so I know how to dress that part to go see that client. Knowing that, hey, she owns her family, they own a jewelry store they've had since like 1919 and everything else.
100%.
So, you know,
Dress accordingly to the client.
To the client.
Yeah.
Else.
I agree.
For sure. What else? No, we got one.
Sorry, I don't need it.
What else? Anything else?
Nobody ever sold anything on PowerPoint.
What's that?
Nobody ever sold anything on PowerPoint.
So this is just.
Steve, one question.
Yeah.
When you're writing an application for Sunrise, you know, you get the message from the company is denied, it's declined.
Yes, I'm glad you asked that.
Yeah, because I'm working with a couple of cases like that, and sometimes it's already late, you know, I'm gonna find you something, and they want, how do you handle that?
Okay, so first let's start here. Are you trying to get them a term?
Yeah, well, they're looking for a term.
Okay.
Of course, one of them already switched it to a whole life, but they want more amount, you know.
Okay. How old are they?
I'm working with a guy right now, 45 years old.
Okay.
Okay, actually I'm working with two. 45-year-old, 6 feet tall, 185, but he runs in his family, since he's 20, he's insulin dependent.
Okay, got it.
And another one is the same thing, he's 39 years old, insulin dependent, but he's 5'6" and weighs 300 pounds. It's like,
Yeah. All right, so here's how I typically handle it. I kind of know in that scenario, most terms, and actually you guys might take it dependent.
95%.
Yeah, I would definitely run it through them. So the one thing that I do now, knowing that we have you guys, if I know, like if I'm traditionally looking like America, Am, or Mutual, Foresters actually takes insulin, but I don't know if that height and weight probably would work. If they're not gonna kind of go there, I'm definitely running through there. And if it's a scenario where they're just not gonna get termed, which comes up, I'm going to, in the appointment, let them know, hey, we're gonna try all we can to get you the term, but if we can, I'm then going through like what it looks like if you had like Aetna whole life at 50,000, right? Because Aetna wouldn't have a height and weight, and they're not gonna really care about the insulin. So I'm trying to plant the seed just in case, running them through the ones that we can run them through.
Talking about Aetna whole life, right?
Yeah. No. So I'm gonna run them through what I would run them through on the term, and then obviously run them through Ethos. And then but I want to plant the seed, hey, this is gonna be your best alternative. And then you're trying to like communicate why a whole life makes sense. It's permanent, goes forever, builds cash value, you're young for it's the most affordable. Like I'm trying to sell that stuff. You're not gonna win all of those battles.
No, I know.
But I always want to leave the client understanding like we're going to get you something.
Oh, no, definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. I have another case of one of the nectar leads that happened to be local. It's very close, 5 minutes from the house. And I went and wrote a policy. The lady is the one that handles the insurance, the wife. So they wanted something that accumulates. Anyway, I quote and they told me I only take the medication for high blood pressure and one medication for a large post. Those are the only two that they're taking. So anyway, I don't know if I made a mistake or not, but I try to get him a $50,000 IUL removed, and I got the claim.
Yeah. Here's my rule of thumb, and before I get it over to you, sorry I'm taking so much time. Number one, to me, the best thing you always need to remember is I gotta sell you on what you can get, not necessarily what you want. That's how I issue pay a lot of businesses, being straight up honest, right? So that being said, yes, I'm gonna go through if it's America, if it's Ammon, if it's Moon, if it's the Ethos, and then pivot to the whole. I try and assume everybody's unhealthy. Whereas I find most agents, what do they say? Like you see it in Slack all the time. I'm with a really healthy 64-year-old.
It's gotta do hard.
Yeah. They had a heart attack 3 years ago. They're really healthy now.
Yeah.
Well, sure, but let's say you're not really healthy, but in the world of insurance and what they're going to take and not, you're not. So I try and, when I'm selling you on the front side, not offer you what you can't get. It's like saying, like if I walked in every house and I was like, you know, the CBO is the greatest product ever, but like 40% of you can't get it, like, okay, I just cut my foot off, you know, like, whereas I'm trying to gather the information, then make the assumption what they are. And, you know, I think Ethos, and you're going to go through this now, good segue, the reasons why we partnered with you and how we can honestly handle all of this.
Yeah. So, no, it's your gold, man. I love it. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
let's bring up
Marty.
Mr. Mart Schafer.
Yep.
I appreciate you being here, and you're going
Always.
to kill it, and I'm really excited to learn more about you.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Thank you. So Mart Schafer, I'm the chief, and we've got people online too.
Yeah.
Possibly. I'm the chief distribution officer for Ethos. I'm the old insurance guy. So I've been at this 28 years. I started as an agent. It's funny. First off, everybody in here is incredibly lucky. I've met tens of thousands of agents in my time. You know, I've managed to run companies, run distribution. You know, he's a unicorn. But the thing that I appreciate, Steve, listening to you talk, I learned early on that the world conspires for or against you based upon your mindset. And you have a winner's mindset, right? So some people call it emotional intelligence, what you will, but that formula, people fail that formula, not the formula, right? And the other thing I would say is what you focus on expands, choose wisely, right? I started the business, the version of leads in 1996 were orphan clients. When you started in the life insurance business in the 90s, they'd give you a stack of Cleveland. I'm from Cleveland, I'm a Midwesterner. They'd give you a stack. There were 10,000 orphan clients in Cleveland proper. Agent had sold them. Agent told the company they don't ever want to talk to us again. And the newbies came in and called on them. And it sucked. But it was a law of large numbers. I hit MDRT my first year in the business because I was relentless. Because I was like, I need to make this. I got 2 kids, I got a mortgage, like I'm effed if I don't figure this out. And it was straight commission back then. So you're an amazing example for these folks. I just want to thank you for that. So I wanted to open up with that. The other thing I want to open up with is I am not here to displace that process. See, that's what, nobody else that you have coming here from a carrier can say that. You know, and if you understand the life insurance business, I've been doing this a long time. Somebody tell me on average what they think the life insurance industry has grown the last 20 years every year. What is it statistically grown every year?
10%.
Flat. It's been flat. But every year, companies have 10, 12% growth plans. How do you think they do that? Because they need them. They hit those goals. What do? They trade pain. They steal share. It's like, my rider's better here, my rider's better there. I don't want to do that. I'm not here to trade pain. Now, I'm going to have a product in about 6 months and I'll trade some pain. But we are, Mark Mead said it incredibly well when he studied to be a chef, so that's probably why you guys got along so well. He said, he sat back on his chair and he goes, I got it. You guys are the sauce that goes with every steak. I was like, well, what do you mean by that? I love the analogy, but I love sauce, I love steak. What are you talking about? He said, our greatest enemy is time, right? It takes time to go knock on those doors. If you're driving from point to point, I guarantee you everybody who's successful says they work really, really hard. I also guarantee there's a lot of dead time. When you're thinking about how you're gonna fail, when you're figuring out your plan, right? We are the filler for that time. So when you think about Ethos, and I'm going to get into what we are and why I chose to come here, we are the way to automate yourself to drive accretive revenue while you're doing that process. So I'm not here to displace that process. What I'm here to do is to make you another 60 grand a year on top of that process. You know, I mean, technology is a way to, it's all about efficiency. Your greatest asset is time. So we are the greatest efficiency tool you'll ever have at FFL. And that's why Sean was like, I need my agents to have access to everything out there. And we're the Amazon of your sales motion. So I'm going to talk about how now. So I wanted to talk about several things here today. I talked about time. I'll talk about the product, I'll talk about the process, and I'll tell you how to deploy it. All right? Who here has any idea what our company is? Anything? No? That's not very good. That's you know what?
When you say, what your company is?
Yeah. What is our company?
Your life insurance.
Yep. We're actually a technology company. So this will tell you what we are. I want to get to the good stuff here. This is why I don't do PowerPoints. I want to get our buy box, because that to me is going to show you what we do. All right, cool. So we're a technology company. So our founders were a couple Stanford guys who, one of them had bought life insurance at like 20. It was a whole life policy that he had no idea what he bought or why he bought it. One of his college buddies from Penn sold it to him. So these two brilliant guys are like, hey, this whole industry is broken. What are we going to do? So it started with building a technology portal. So the first thing you want to think about with Ethos is every one of you in this room, if you've been with FFL any period of time, Corinne and the team at FFL have sent us your information. And what we did is we have this $100 million agent portal. So it's an agency in a box that's online. You actually have, if you've been with the company, if they've sent us that information, you have a live portal that you can go in there and you've got your own unique URL that is your own bespoke app. You've got your own product. You've got all the digital marketing campaigns. You've got the ability to build a QR code. You have access for free, and that's usually the problem. When people have something for free, they don't use it. You've got access to a $100 million agency management system because of your affiliation with FFL.
When did you guys start it? How many years ago?
2017. So I can get into the history of the company in a second, but if you want, we're not. But you have that right now. And so you can deploy this to build a proprietary marketing program to add the sauce on top of that steak. So that imagine if you, and I'm just going to give you one example. Imagine you buy those 100 leads and you're amazing and you sell 30 of them. I mean, you'd be pretty good, right? What happens to the other 70 leads? They showed some indication of interest, right? What if you created an automated campaign via email, text, where you just sent them, hey, I know we were trying to connect, you weren't interested, but I've partnered with Ethos. If you are interested in life insurance, click this link, and in 12 minutes they'll own a policy. So we started out as a technology company. Well, what did the tech build? So the portal is the kind of the foundation of it. They also went out to life insurance carriers and they said, hey, how you guys have been doing this is totally horrible. Simplified issue is great. I've worked for carriers. I ran U.S. distribution, national account distribution for John Hancock. I rolled out the simple term Hancock product for FFL. I ran the team that did that. But carriers, they move like the Titanic after it sank, right? And that's nothing against them, but technology companies can move really quickly. So we have a tech platform. We also went and we found 7 products where we built proprietary products. We built the underwriting engine using 300,000 data points on every US consumer, so that as a consumer comes into our app, which is just a URL link, in 12 minutes they go through reflexive questions, whether they're 300 pounds and they got type 2 diabetes or they're a 40-year-old triathlete, they're gonna get the right amount and type of coverage. Instantly, in 12 minutes.
Do you guys have a CRM system set in place? Or, for example, so I know you mentioned about the 100 leads, right, you end up purchasing, so we have the
You
emails.
can load leads into our portal.
Now, will those leads, if they go online to purchase a policy and so forth, how will we know about that?
Because you're in your portal, which I'm not going to get into in great detail today, it shows you everything. Steve pulled up his portal. It shows you every status on every policy. Every person that's clicked a link, it's in your portal. Yeah, if they purchase, and it's your own unique URL.
Oh, but they have to go to the URL, but
Well, yeah, but you send them your unique URL as you send that lead out. And when they click and close it, it pays you. Here's the other thing, just to deviate for 30 seconds. Andrew Taylor, you guys ever heard of Andrew? So, integrity partner. He's really kind of who helped us launch this partnership. He called me like 2 weeks into our partnership. He's like, hey man, you're trying to steal my clients. I'm like, we wouldn't do that, but what happened? And he's like, I sent out the URL, one of my agents sent out the URL, they didn't complete the app, somebody from Ethos called them and closed the case. I was like, oh. I said, yeah, that's what we do, man. He's like, what? I said, yeah, we call, if they start the application, we've got a life cycle communications plan where we'll call them, we'll close the case for that agent gets paid.
And I can attest to it. I was in a house 2 weeks ago. They called literally right after I put it in to make sure that like it was all good and it was going
So,
through.
and 2 weeks ago, an agent in Wyoming had that happen. We actually got a referral to another client from that client that we closed, made the agent $9,000. So the referral got attributed to the agent too. I mean, who else is doing that for you? It's pretty slick, right? So we've built this incredible proprietary underwriting engine. So we've got a digital platform, an application engine that takes about 12 minutes. Paul McLean, I think it took him 12 minutes while we were training his leadership team to buy $2 million of insurance. Dude's just done. He's like, dude, it's done. And oh, by the way, how many middle Americans take the time and spend the money to get a will, trust, durable power of healthcare? Any of them? How many of you have it? You don't have to raise your hands. Okay, good. You started to raise your hand. That's good. Yeah, I spent like $5,000 on my wills and trusts. I mean, that was expensive. Free to a policyholder. We acquired Tomorrow, which is a free wills, trust, durable power of healthcare company in February or January of last year. It's free to our policyholders. It's pretty cool, right? In middle America, see, I grew up, my dad was a welder, I had 4 siblings. Nobody was calling on my dad. Nobody door knocked us because we lived in the middle of nowhere in Southern Ohio. That's who this is for. This isn't for me now, right? The people are calling me now. This is who this is built for. So the whole premise, and I think that's a philosophy comment of our founders, is democratizing the acquisition of life insurance, which is what FFL is all about, family first, for people who normally aren't going to get taken care of. I mean, somebody making $750,000 a year does not have to fill out a mortgage card, right? Typically. right? Because they've got their Morgan Stanley broker, they've got their private banker, they've got, most Americans don't have that. And that's why that's actually why I came to the company, because we have democratized the acquisition of insurance for every American. So we've got this proprietary underwriting engine we've built with carriers. The client checks out immediately, and there's an admin platform for the client to self-serve, and you can see everything that the client has. So let me just show you the product. I gotta get to that. I hate these PowerPoints. Sorry, Steve. Clicker would have been a little easier. By the way, every product has a full stack underwriting model. All right, so before I get to that, there's 3 things that you have to do before you leave. For everybody watching, most agents haven't gone to their portal. Okay. So number 1, we've created all 50,000 FFL portals. You have to go into the portal and start playing around with it. And then once you do that, you learn how it works, just start targeting clients, selling leads. So you just have to go to this, agents.ethoslife.com, and you'll have your own dashboard. Now when you get in there, you can build Steve's Insurance Shack, you can put your picture on there. When a client sees that link, they're going to think you literally spent thousands of dollars building this, because it's going to look like your own insurance agency in there. But this is what you have to do. To your point, you're not going to sell anything if you don't do this. And the way I think you view our product is do what Steve said. I never knew the burner phone thing, by the way. That was freaking cool. But run your business, run the play that he's designed for your organization. And then with everything else you don't sell, build a social profile, create a QR code. I mean, think about it. Imagine if you had a QR code on the bumper sticker of your car that said, if you want life insurance, click here. In 12 minutes, you can own life insurance. If you sold 2 policies a month for people who were at the stop, like, holy shit, I want life insurance.
You get a tattoo on your forehead.
Nice, yeah, no tattoos. But I would be immediate, I'd pay for it. But that's the key. The first thing you got to do is go in and just build your profile. For some reason, Steve, it doesn't have our waterfall, but let me just explain the waterfall to you. So in our product suite, we've got LGA Banner. So Banner is the largest seller of term insurance in the United States, year in and year out. They're an A-rated, amazing carrier. So we've got $2 million of LGA Prime. So if you've got a reasonably healthy 20, 30, 40, even 50-year-old, they can get prime term insurance. And what happens is as they come into this process, we've got Ameritas, which is an A-rated mutual company. We've got a subprime product with Ameritas and LGA, and then we've got Senior Life and CUNA True Stage on the back end for final expense and guaranteed issue. So in that waterfall, we have 95% approval.
Anyway, you guys are going to have any type of guaranteed issue for anybody under age 40?
Possibly. Yeah, I mean, well, it's a great call out because in 2017 when the company launched, all we had was $1 million term product. In the last 2 years, we've expanded that to 7 products. We're going to be adding an IUL product this year. We're going to be improving our final expense products. So you'll have an instant issue IUL product. You'll have a better FE product stack. So I said this to Steve in his office earlier, Amazon started with books. Now we're not going to end up having a product suite like Amazon, but I don't think anybody, when they were looking at Amazon V1, thought, oh, they're going to get into our business. Best Buy wasn't thinking that. But we're going to continue to expand that buy box. What was your name again?
Annie.
Say that again? Annie. So we're going to expand that buy box to meet your needs digitally. So that'll continue to improve.
The actual products that are through Ethos is the term and what else?
Term, FE, and GI. So you have term, you have prime terms, subprime terms, FE, and GI.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do any of yours have living benefits or no?
No, we're working on that. So that's been a huge call out. People have wanted living benefits. Our IUL will have living benefits, which will be huge.
When is that coming out?
Our hope is Q2. You know, we have some pretty incredible talent that we brought in to help co-design that. So we have a whole product development team that works with the carriers to leverage our underwriting engine on their paper. So we are not a carrier. We're not paying death claims. We're the TPA that facilitates that, but it's not our paper. That's really important.
Does somebody just click the link and then they could put in their info and then the website will basically tell them what they can qualify for?
Yeah, it literally takes them through, asks some reflexive, what's your name?
Mike.
Mike, it takes them through reflexive questions. Now, there's a lot of ways you can engage us. We have agent assist capabilities, Mike, so if you're talking to a client, like Steve sent one to a client the other day, so you knew what he wanted, he couldn't meet with you or something happened, but you're just like, hey man, I don't know exactly what you did.
I actually think it was a call transfer and I pissed him off, and then I sent him the link from the burn. No. And he did it himself.
$220 a month.
$220 a month. And I didn't even realize. I went on my portal. I was like, oh damn.
So technically you can bring somebody from an advertisement.
That's actually,
Yeah.
that's
To the link.
exactly, so
Yeah.
so that's one of the things I was going to talk about is, we
I run
are,
a digital marketing agency.
well, so you're in a
So
good
that's
place.
why I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure this out, so.
So you essentially have the capacity now. So the genesis of our company is direct to consumer. So what is direct to consumer, right? It's disintermediation of agencies, because originally they were like, you know, that's what they thought they were going to build exclusively, Peter and Lincoln. And then, you know, they came to me because they realized 9 out of 10 sales happen through an agent, right? I'm like, well, you can't, like, you're never going to truly grow if you don't do business with agents. I mean, I'm just telling you straight how that kind of transpired. But in essence, we're able to create a D2C company with you. So if you went out into social, you create Instagram presence, there are dozens of agents that if you go to their YouTube channels or Facebook posts, literally they're just like, hey, are you interested in life insurance? I've partnered with Ethos, it's got their QR code there. It's just out there constantly. So you know, because what do? We spend millions and millions of dollars on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, and clients just click on it. They're like, oh my God, I literally just bought life insurance. It took me 10 minutes.
Essentially it's a glorified affiliate program. Basically.
Yeah, I mean, in essence, that has attribution for you.
Correct.
Cool.
So how many carriers do you guys have right now?
So we've got AmeriLife, not AmeriLife, yeah, I know that company. I almost said America, I don't know why I did that. We've got LGA Banner, Ameritas, that's what I was trying to say, True Stage and Senior Life.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're always talking to carriers. When carriers are calling us, we're calling carriers, but we have very specific kind of expectations of what we're looking for in partnership. To leverage our tech, it has to be instant, right? Because that's kind of the secret sauce, getting it in 12 minutes. Because when I started, I mean, I said this in Steve's office earlier, when I started as an agent selling orphan clients, I would sell them. It would be about a 16-week turnaround by the time we got manual APSs sent. The person went out and did the medical. And this wasn't for like a $2,000 a month policy, this was for like a $25 a month policy. And then in week 15, they'd call up and say, you know, I changed my mind. like, you make no money. I mean, people don't get paid every week now, they freak out, right?
You truly walk to work both ways up the hill.
Literally, we were getting paid quarterly for an out. Like, so you had to have, our deal was, I never left the office unless I had 10 appointments the next week. So that was Friday, Thursday, Saturday morning, kids were playing in the boardroom, like, you had to have constant flow coming in because or else you would never get paid. And there wasn't express commissions back then either. So it was a lot of, so you had to really kill yourself to make it in the business.
How does the payment process with Ethos?
Because of the FFL partnership, we do 100% express commission. Yeah, so, but, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, Sean works some pretty amazing magic with us. And you know, I know the power of this organization. So how do you make 60 grand with us, right?
I think it's 600.
600 grand?
Yeah.
I think the way to make 600 would be to build a team that does this with you. Like you'd need, I mean, look, if you created like, I'm going to meet with somebody next week who's got like 2 million followers, I think they could make 600 in 6 months, just because they've got influence, right? The way to get to that type of quantum number is just leverage. So you'd have to have an amazing digital presence. You'd have to have an automated system that sent out the links to people, but it absolutely can be done. You know, what I was telling Mark Mead, I mean, he's got 3,100 agents, and this won't happen probably, but I'm a visionary. Like, I like building things. This is the second startup I've done. I think nothing great happens with a closed mind, right? Like, nothing great happens when you think like okay thoughts. I think you have to think extraordinary thoughts to create extraordinary results. Has anybody ever read Think and Grow Rich?
Yes.
I finished it on the way here. Like, I've been reading it the last couple of flights. And the thing about it is these vibrations of the world conspire for you when you think the right way. And so what I told Mark is I was like, hey, look, you got 3,100 agents. If you wrote one Ethos app a week, our average case size is $1,000. How much do you think you would write the Ethos business this year? Anybody know that number? Anybody doing the math? 161 million. 161 million. Now, if he hits 10% of that, is he happy if he had 16 million to his downline? Right? How many agents work with you?
Writer is about 100 to 150.
Okay, so 150 times 4, let's just say it's 100, say 400 times 1,000, 400,000 a month. Would that help your business?
Sure would.
So think about it. Think if we can create a system, Steve, that automates the marketing of your leads with our link, and you get one of those 70 to buy each week. And you didn't do any work. You didn't drive anywhere. You didn't knock on any doors, all of which we don't want to disrupt. Oh, and I'm going to sound like the ShamWow guy. But wait, there's more. We actually just launched last week on ILC the Ethos leads. So Steve, I don't know if you've bought any yet.
I haven't, but yeah, I'm going.
But, so we have hundreds of thousands of consumers that come into our funnel, direct. We don't close the vast majority of those. But these are clients who clicked on the link, many of which put their social security number in. Would you consider that a high intent lead? Right? But you know, they had a question. They wanted to talk to somebody. We don't do that. The dog bark, the Amazon delivery truck came. They got out of the system because it's only 12 minutes.
And how much you sell those leads for?
$10. We have, I think, sitting in there right now, north of 11,000 open leads to buy.
How old are they?
I would consider that
How
high.
old are those leads?
Yeah, I would consider that high intent lead. So you call them up and it's like, hey, look, I know you started the app. By the way, I don't care if you sell Americo or F&G or I don't care. I just want to get somebody insured because I'm going to monetize the lead. We'd love for it to be Ethos, but again, I'm not trying to displace share. I want to grow the business. I want to insure more Americans. And that philosophy, this is another really important point. When you operate under that premise of something greater than just a base economic goal, good things happen.
Where's your income stream coming from?
Well, we make money on the sale of the product. We get a vig on the sale of the product. We are a full service TPA, so the carriers pay us to be the TPA. That's our economic engine.
Really quick. So, because as you go through the process and everything else, they ask specifically the income and how much do the potential clients make per year. Purchase those leads. Are you able to also determine
What type of product?
What kind of?
Yeah, so I don't know the exact totals of what we share from the lead. I think it's basic information because there's obviously, you know, limits to how much we would share that lead put in there. Just we're not sharing the social security number. I'll tell you that. I mean, we'd have like companies from Bangkok buying the leads, selling it on the black market. But yeah, so we give you the basic information through the consumer. But I can get more information on the leads if you want. But I forget what the name of it is. They're not called the Ethos leads. We wanted to test them first. I think they're called abandoned something, high intent abandoned. What, do you know what they're called, Steve? I should know this.
Oh, the actual leads?
Yeah, the name
I
of
think
them.
they're called Ethos leads, right?
They're not called the Ethos
They're
leads.
not?
No, they're, I think it's called abandoned something.
Yeah,
Right?
abandoned leads. So but that's what it is. It's a direct. So we try and market them for 5 days.
That's a sad name, abandoned.
Yeah, I know.
It's like they abandoned their application.
Yeah,
So that's,
yeah.
to me, that's high intent, especially
Yeah.
like I bought 5 of them and they had like 3 of them had a social on it. Like that's pretty.
Oh, you purchased 5 Ethos?
I purchased 5 just to see, and then there was like 3 with socials on them. So I was like,
It would sound better unfinished business.
Yeah, nice unfinished business. But look, I mean, we've had amazing success with them. I mean, there's another partner, another integrity member firm that we've tested it with. Now it's in ILC, and we've got one organization in this other place that has bought, I think, 200,000 worth of leads because they're like, I can't get enough of them. They're that good.
The Ethos lead.
Yeah.
Where do we go to buy them? Like, is there?
On ILC.
ILC.
Yeah. So we work with Andrew and with Jordan to put them on there, and all the new leads we're sending in there each week are getting ingested, but there's a backfill of like, I want to say 8,000 leads that are sitting there. So
yeah, it's titled in the ILC as Fresh Abandoned Cart Insurance Lead.
That's.
Yeah, Fresh Abandoned Cart.
But that, you know, and I know we got to get me off of here, Steve, but the thing I would leave you with this is that it takes everything you're going to have to succeed with the playbook that Steve talked about. If you do that, what he didn't tell you is there's a little gap between that 5,000 and the conversion percent. And what do you think that is? Spending $5,000 to the conversion percentage. What do you think? What is in that gap right between those two things?
Hard work.
You. Yeah, that's the variable. The variable is you. You either got it or you don't. But if you add us into that system as an automation tool, like how much more time would it take you to load the leads in, send your URL out to those folks instead of calling those 70 people 16 times with 4 burner phones for the next 2 months? Both which would work, right? But you know, I think that's pretty incredible, and that's how you make $60,000 a year.
Most people respond to text messaging anyway.
What's that?
Most people respond to text messaging rather than calls.
Yeah, you got issues with do not
Statistically.
call lists as long as you follow the protocol. You know, you run a marketing company, so you know that's the. By the way, side note, that's the lawsuit du jour right now. So just make sure your DNC call lists are pretty tight. But you can send it out via, you know, like, hey, you know, I know you were interested. You know, click this link here. But the bottom line is just, I would just ask you guys. I think we're trying to get the message out that we're the sauce on the steak. And if you do it, you'll make 60 or 600 in addition to your core business. And that can keep some people in the business, right? Like one of our partners had a 14-day challenge for their newbies where they had to send it out to all their friends and family. And this one 21-year-old made like 17 grand in 2 weeks. He didn't meet with anybody. And now he's good, right? How many leads can he buy with 17 grand? Puts 30% away for taxes, 30% away for churn, takes the rest and takes half of it to live off, and doubles down, buys leads. So,
Obviously, you know, those leads that you go there definitely have to have the email.
yeah, it has all the core
The other
contact
ones that you
information.
have, they don't have no emails. You can't do anything with those.
You can
Ours have the contact information.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can take non-Ethos leads into your portal too. So,
Okay.
I appreciate you. Thanks for having me, Buck.
Do you have any more? I don't want, not
No.
We're
Keep
no
going.
rush. We're going nowhere.
Look, I mean, the key is just, I mean, I'll stop where I started. Like, if you open your mind to receive that message, good things will happen, right? I was driving with Mike Killimet yesterday, and he said, so you got to think about this last statement as it relates to you today. And he said, agents are gonna go to conference next week and they're gonna wanna write down 50, 60, 70 things, and they're not gonna do shit.
Very true.
He goes, the smart ones will go there knowing where their breakage is and kill themselves to get that breakage solved. So I don't know what your breakage is, and let me just be very clear. If it's not selling enough, if it's that you sell enough life insurance, you may not need us. But most agents want to sell more life insurance. So if you want to build accretive revenue on top of what he described to open the meeting, this will work. Not may work, will work. But just like with the system that Steve talked about, the difference between what I talked about and that 60 grand is what? Is you. Are you willing to build the automation systems to send this out, to automate it, to get it in your workflow? If you do, unbelievable things will happen. And look, we're going to continue to add better products. We're not stagnant. These guys are crazy intense in a good way. And I just love building things. And I love building it with great people. So it's an honor to be here. You guys have the best business.
We'll do some Q&A at the end.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was awesome. So we're going to bring up Mr. Tierre, Vice President, and one thing he's going to talk about is kind of running the hybrid schedule. And what's really cool that I found this year, because this year was, I guess you'd call it more challenging from this regard. Lead flow in direct mail really changed this year because less people fill things out. Obviously, we're in a recession. No matter what they tell you, we're in a recession, like officially. We're in a recession-proof business, which is amazing. And what I found this year was because of that direct mail, less of it, less people filling it out, postage being higher, you had to really start. You got to think differently. You got to go, more to that 2 to 3 lead types, right? And now when you can add in, hey, I could run some ads with Ethos. I could text it to clients that didn't want to buy. Like all of these things start adding up. And then the other thing when you're in the business for a bit, and Tierre's done a lot of this year, he's going to talk about working your book of business to sell, hey, I didn't sell the wife. I didn't sell the kids. I didn't sell, the aunts, the uncles. So now you start incorporating all your new leads. You start working all your old stuff, your book of business. Sometimes you can we're into better products as time goes on, right? So maybe, like when I started, we didn't have Ethos. If I called people from 2 to 3 years ago, maybe I could put them in a better position. I could add it, whatever. And it becomes where you're running, what Tierre is going to talk about, a hybrid model, because the other I like to meet with you, that's just me. But I also sell some stuff over the phone and over Zoom, right? So that has opened a lot up, and Tierre's done an amazing job with it this year, as well for his team. How much did your team grow this year?
A lot.
What was it percent? A lot.
It was like 77% or something like that.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Tierre Browne, Vice President, FFL Southwest, take it away.
Thanks, guys. So I have a few topics, and I always start off with anybody who knows me as structure, right? So like on Sunday afternoon, when I'm thinking about how I'm going to run this telesales or in-home, which is the reason for me kind of doing the hybrid sort of schedule is truly lead flow. South Florida, there's a lot of us agents running around doing in-home presentations, and there may not be enough leads in some areas, and it may just be more flexible for me to say pick up a couple states and do telesales elsewhere. But when I sit down on Sunday afternoon, every Sunday afternoon, I basically try to figure out what my week is going to look like. So what leads am I dialing? What am I dialing for local? What local lead flow do I have? What telesales lead flow do I have? What is my plan? Well, also, what does my family life look like for that week, which may change here or there. So running a hybrid kind of allows me some flexibility in that regards, but on Sunday night, I'm trying to figure out what my week is going to look like. So I have a mix of in-home, like local leads, these 3 counties, South Florida, And then I'll decide, okay, on Monday morning when I start dialing, I'm gonna go ahead and start doing one call closes for the local stuff, if I can get them on the phone, or I'm booking appointments for after 6 p.m. Now the reason why I do it after 6 p.m. is twofold. Live transfers, and sometimes those don't come in after 5 p.m. So if you're running telesales, you're doing a mix of dialing out, maybe set appointments, and live transfers. Well, your set appointments, sometimes they don't show up. That's normal, that's kind of run of the game in telesales. Live transfers don't really happen after 5 p.m. So what can I do? I can be productive in home after 5 p.m. So generally every single day after 5 p.m. local, I either have in-home appointments set for local in-home appointments, and the rest of the day I'm dialing one call closes. But then it kind of goes the other way sometimes. Sometimes I can't leave my house, let's say, because my wife has to go out and do something and I can't set in-home appointments. Well, then what I'll do is I'll dial out from 5 p.m. till midnight, dialing the East Coast all the way out to the West Coast, Honolulu, so that I can still reach out a lot of people, right? So I can still do all my dialing all day long. But generally for me, I think you have to have your structure and your schedule and know. First point is, like, where are you getting your leads from? Do you have a local lead flow, or do you have some that are coming that are going to be, nationwide, right? Once you have that in your mind, now you can kind of set up how many days do I want to run in the field. Now, being very transparent, when I was in the field in the beginning, I would go out to homes with a minimum of 5 appointments was my minimum to go out in the field. If I didn't have 5, I wouldn't get in my car. But now, if I'm only doing this time to time, like I'm doing 2, if I have 2 solid set appointments, I'm going. But I'm doing extra lockdowns. Like I'm telling the client, you better be there because I just ditched my family, wife and kids to go protect you with insurance. So make sure you're there. So usually when I go, they're there. I haven't been getting no-showed after 5 p.m. because I'm also putting major guilt on them if they don't, or if they aren't there. Now, am I ditching my kids? Not really, they're home anyway. They stay up late anyway. When I get home, they're up anyway. Or they're out doing a bunch of other activities, but usually that's kind of been my lockdown on certain nights that I'm running the field. This week in particular, like when I sat down and did my schedule, I said, okay, I can't run appointments in the field this afternoon, which today would be a usual field afternoon day, because of activities and stuff and things we have going on. So I'm gonna do phone appointments this afternoon. So I have phone appointments today at 4 and 5. And then I'm gonna do telesales all day long tomorrow, live call transfers all day. And why do I select live call transfers? Honestly, I didn't have a lot of incoming local leads come in today or yesterday. So I can either sit around and do nothing, like Thursday's it. It's either Thursday or Saturday at 8 a.m. Which do you prefer? Oh, Thursday. Perfect. I'll see you Thursday. Make sure you're there because I'm going to ditch my kids to go help you. Oh, you are? Yeah. Okay, for sure. Then they're there. So I've been going out and just doing those onesie twosies, and usually when I go to the field with that amount of intent or lock-in with the client, they're there. But that's really why I kind of shifted to a hybrid schedule, being very honest. It's, you can do this 100% telesales. I think even within telesales, you have to have a mix. If you do live transfers all day long, which everybody understands what a live transfer is, right? Call goes into a call center, they get transferred then over to you. I think if you do live transfers all day long, you can become lazy, just waiting for calls to come into you. You lose that muscle of dialing out and rebuttals. So I think you should do it for a little bit, like have maybe a day or a day and a half of live transfers, so you can get some constant sort of flow of people that want to buy insurance. It's still, live transfers is not a guarantee. It is a chance for you to mess it up, because there are people that want insurance, but you have to make sure, going back to what Steve and everybody else said, you have to go back to what they can get, not what they want. And you have to feel comfortable telling somebody who's 65 and wants a term that's high blood pressure and a smoker that although you want this $100,000 term, you may not be healthy enough to get it. But what I'm going to tell you is what you can get and work with you to get that, right? But you have to be comfortable enough to say that. So live transfers is definitely a way, but then have 2 or 3 different lead vendors that you're actually doing, dialing out sort of calls. Whether you're doing the Smart Financial, different lead vendors that give CRM vendors that are giving you direct leads on a daily basis that are fresh leads, let's say. So you definitely want to have a mix of different things, and in the beginning, of course, set up your schedule. Any questions or anything, or no? Okay. Hey, John, how are you? But yeah, Bethany, what's up?
How often are you buying leads for sellers?
Often. Oof. Like, I feel like I'm probably buying leads all the time, to be honest. I know the traditional schedule is always, buy leads, say, on like Sunday, like twice a week, Sunday and Wednesday. When you're doing telesales, every day is dial day. So it depends on how many clients you want to get in touch with. It depends on, how many leads you have in your portfolio. Personally, I've never been a big fan of buying hundreds of leads and try to cycle through hundreds. I dial about 30 or 40 at a time. Just like Steve said, I bought 30 or 40. I'll cycle through those within, I'll dial them at 8 o'clock in the morning, 11, 2, 5, 8, and then the next morning I'll dial them again before I leave a voicemail, before I send a text. And generally on those, I'm not really leaving a voicemail that's very detailed. I'm just saying, hey man, sorry I missed your call, call me. Or call me back. Call me back, it's important. Hey, I got the money for you on that day, call me. Just something to get their attention. And when you say random things like that, they actually do call back. I'm like, hey, you called me, you said something about money. Oh yeah, I have that life insurance information that you requested, whatever. Also, it's good, in the beginning where you're starting to dial out, is with that amount of leads, 30 or 40, I actually text every single client. And from my personal regular number or from one of my burner numbers, and I text them, this is Tierre. And I don't say anything else other than this is Tierre, and then I call them. So when their phone rings, it usually says maybe Tierre or Tierre is calling. That happens on a majority of iPhones. I picked that up from Brandon Kitchenson, I think, on some video a long time back, and I've stuck with it ever since. And the pickup rate is just higher because people will literally answer and say, hey, who's this, Tierre? And I'm like, yeah, hey, what's going on? You told me to give you a call back regarding a life insurance request, remember? And he's like, well, I guess, because you're my phone. And I was like, yeah. So I do that, then dial in like 15 times, and then, throughout the course of the day, and then leave a voicemail, probably on like the 15th or 16th call, but usually not before then. Now those leads are so you never really dive through leads in general. If you're using a burner system, definitely if you have like a phone burner or Zippo or something like that, you could definitely go through a lot more numbers quicker. But when I first started, I wasn't using that, and I've always cycled through 20 or 30 leads at a time, so that kind of works for me. I just kind of keep going with that. Yeah.
How many other states do you need? Like, how should you buy states? Should you have like way west, mid, like, how do you?
I think that it depends honestly on your schedule and, you know, what time are you going to dedicate to telesales? You know, are you going to, sorry, the question was asked, how many states do you need, in case anybody didn't hear. But if you're planning to only work this like 8 to 5, you know, Monday through Friday, I think, you know, you need to maybe open up your schedule to maybe have some additional time in the evening, because you may not contact everybody at 8 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock. You may want to have a couple days in the evening where you can call people after 5 p.m., but then be comfortable with having extra states, you know, so like, you know, personally I have a bunch, I have like 40 or so, but I only dial about 5 of them. Want to have probably 2 or 3 on the East Coast just for sheer volume, because there's more people that live like east of Texas, period. So you want to have a lot of volume. And then let's say you get something in the middle of the state, you know, middle of the country, like in Texas, or, you know, I've been dialing a lot of Oklahoma. There's some nice people in Oklahoma. And then a couple things out west. You go Vegas, you know, you go Nevada, California, Hawaii, whatever works for you. But that all really depends on your scheduling also. I dedicate 2 days a week of nighttime dialing, 5 p.m. to midnight, 2 days a week, non-negotiable. Wife and kids, doesn't matter, they're non-existent. Like, I have to dial those days nighttime. But yeah, it totally depends on whatever your structure, your schedule is, you know? Anything else, or, no?
How do you manage building a team and running a hybrid schedule where obviously you have to sell and build?
Yeah, so biggest part for me was there's only so many hours in the day, being very honest. So like, if I ran a full-time schedule in the field, I personally felt like I wasn't able to give enough to my team. And whether it was training or recruiting or anything like that. So that's how I personally felt. It drained me out. Like, you're in a house, and I had an interview, and I have 3 agents calling me, and they all need underwriting help. Like, where do we go? So for me, the shift of my schedule really helped, where, you know, me not working certain, like me working the field on certain nights. My team is aware of when I'm in the field, so they know the other backup plans. But during the week, most of the time between like 8 and 4, I'm not really working on selling insurance. I'm building the team, I'm kind of playing the role of 3 or 4 people as one. So I'm playing the recruiter, I'm playing the developer, I'm playing the contracting person throughout the day. 2 nights a week I'm doing telesales, but that shifts depending on what my calendar looks like, you know? Like, knowing this week coming up, I don't have a bunch of interviews scheduled, I don't have meetings coming up, everything is conference related, all of that. So I'm gonna be more heavily involved in personal production, say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then it's the weekend, you know, then it's conference. So again, it goes kind of back to your scheduling, what you have on your plate.
And convention next week.
And what's that?
Convention next week.
Convention next week. Turn off live transfers. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You know, turn them off so you don't get calls where you're sitting there at the stage. You know, be highly productive. I would say be highly productive starting now through Wednesday. So like, I was looking at my schedule, and I use Road Warrior, which Steve was talking about. But like, I have in-home appointments Saturday, Sunday. I don't want to work all day Saturday or Sunday, but I scheduled appointments in-home for Saturday and Sunday. Anybody that I can't book for today for a 1-call close, I'll book them for Saturday. Just be really intentional, and then be very aggressive. You have to be almost aggressive and intentional in this business to make it happen. So like, I'm gonna work probably 12 to 16 hours Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because I know I'll be out Thursday. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to worry about it. I just want to have, you know, enough to not worry, you know. Yeah.
Typically, they say the best days to purchase leads on Saturdays and Sundays. Do you agree with that?
I think you buy them
Every
wherever.
day is the best day to purchase.
I think I think they come in whenever. I think there may be more volume on certain days, but a lead is a lead and a person is a person, and like you might do a request because you're in front of a computer on a Saturday, but I might do it on a Tuesday night at 1 o'clock in the morning. So that's a Wednesday lead. Like, you know, it doesn't matter really. It more so matters how your day is going to be planned. 2 hours to actually dial. So would I turn on live transfers? No. What did I do? I did 1 call closes and followed up with clients that I had from yesterday. Tomorrow is a different day. Friday, I don't have anything in the field. So what's my goal? Turn on live transfers, tell my team, hey, I'm MIA. If you need help, go to all these other sources. I need to focus on personal production and do live call transfers and dial out a bunch. Try to make something happen. Any local leads I come in tonight, I'll then push them to Saturday for additional appointments. But it starts with me for sure with your structure. You gotta know what you're gonna do when you're gonna do it. Good? Anything from the guys? No? All right. Well, thanks guys for having me.
So now we're gonna bring up Mr. Orlando No Pain, No Gain, two-time Hall of Famer.
Yes.
So here's pretty cool, interesting fact. So 3 years ago, right? 3 years ago, you were working where?
I was working at a call center. I just got laid off from a nursing home.
Okay. And then you helped like 500 families this year.
This year, going on 500.
Going on 500.
480 now.
Okay, we're getting 500.
Yeah.
Last year was like 4 and change.
4 and change.
Okay, and now you're about to open an office
Yes.
in about a month.
No.
So if I would have said to you 3 years ago, when we were on the phone, and you were struggling financially, hey, in 3 years, you're gonna have made this much, and you're gonna be opening an office, what would you say?
I wish.
Right?
I wish, and I don't see that happening at all.
He is like, you wanna talk about a guy who works like legit hard? Like I work hard, but like he works hard. Like he's like on the grind all the time. And I'm really excited to hear you train about what it takes to be a Hall of Famer. So welcome.
Thanks, man.
All right. Nice suit.
Thanks, appreciate it. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Healthy, happy, and terrific.
There you go. There you go. What's up, man? So as Steve said, my name is Orlando. I'm a 2-time Hall of Famer here at Family First. Today I was asked to speak about how to hit Hall of Fame. All right. Now, a large part of this business is pretty much confidence. You need to make sure that your mind and your heart. What's up, man? How you doing? You need to make sure that your mind and your heart, is definitely in it. But initially, when I first started, I struggled at this big time. As Steve said, financially, I was just, I was living from paycheck to paycheck. I was a single father. My son was living with me. I had just gotten laid off from a job that I was working at 2 years. I started working at a call center because I knew I wanted to do this, but I needed to, funnel the leads. And financially, I was really, really strapped for cash. I'm going to tell you a quick story. At that point in time, when I had started, I really needed to sell a policy, really, really, really bad. Because I didn't know where my next check was coming. The unemployment was already pretty much done. I think I had gotten like 2 or 3 months worth of unemployment, and the job that I was working at was paying like $8,000 an hour, $9 an hour. You can't really live off of that, especially when you're a single father. So it was definitely hard. But so I wasn't an agent that was able to dish out a couple of $1,000s initially. I had a couple of $100s to purchase leads, and for some of you, that's probably going to be the case. It's not impossible, but you're gonna have to just work harder. That's just how it is. All right. So pretty much what I did was, when I had a couple of $100s, I had to purchase some age leads. I bought some of the leads out in the Orlando area, and where I live at, it roughly took me probably 2 hours, and 2 hours and some change. And I didn't have a car at that time either. That's another story. But I didn't have a car. I had to rent a car, so that was some money that I had to borrow to rent the car. So I was definitely in the hole. My account was already at like negative a couple of $100s. So I rented the car, got the leads, decided to go to Orlando that particular weekend, drove out there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I think I even remember texting Steve. I was there till around 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, booking appointments, door knocking, and I had text Steve, you know, I think I was about to door knock some guy at 10 o'clock at night saying, hey Steve, do you think it might be a little bit too late? He was like, yes, it's too late, just go back in the morning.
Back in your car.
But yeah, I was hungry, but again, I was strapped for cash, and it was really, really, really hard. That Sunday night, I remember driving back home because I did not sell a policy at all. And that was like all my money that I had. So I was like literally in the hole. Sunday night, I'm driving back home, my confidence was shot. You know, I'm saying to myself, man, did I make the right decision? I don't know what I'm gonna do. Things were, you know, looking tough. You know, I can hear my family members, you know, why are you doing this? You're crazy, you got a degree, you shouldn't be doing this. This is a scheme, you're not gonna be making any money. I did this 10, 15 years ago, and after you reach out to your family members and friends, you know, you're not gonna make any money at all. So all this stuff was going through my head, and, you know, there wasn't any plan B for me at all. Wasn't no plan B, it was definitely plan A. So pretty much what I started doing was I started listening to training podcasts and just listening to different perspectives of different agents, you know, talking about how they were doing things. And I would always hear, actually, you know, I was listening to so much podcasts, I was actually getting upset because I would hear these agents, oh, I made $5,000 this week, I made $8,000 this week. And I'm like, you know, bravo, bravo, you know, but I seen it in myself. I didn't see any different from what they were doing, right? But I knew one of the biggest differences with them was a lot of them, they did come from an insurance background. I didn't. But I knew that I had to work harder and just stay focused. Another thing that I pretty much did was I went to conference. Conference as a whole, and again, you know, Steve and Tierre has spoken about it. Next month, we're having a big conference. That helped me out tremendously. All right, just listening to different perspectives of different agents, communicating, telling you how they do certain things. Works for one of your uplines might not work for you, but I always recommend take what you like from other agents and create your own little niche, okay? Because that's really the key in having this. All right, so once I went to conference and I started, you know, pretty much getting trained and really understanding the business, you know, things started rolling a little. You know, and I started listening to my podcast and, you know, all the trainings. I you know, again, getting upset and listening to all the other agents, you know, making all this money, you know, there wasn't any plan B, like I said, it was just a plan A. Another big part of the journey when you're doing this is dialing, all right, scheduling and dialing. You know, when you're dialing, we normally dial on Mondays and Thursdays. That's our day, you know, when you're working 40, you know, trying to book 30 to 40 appointments a week. You want to try to schedule on a consistent basis, and this is key, 25 to 30 appointments a week, you know, because that's how you're going to make your money, pretty much. And in some cases, you might be able to squeeze in, you know, on average, you know, 20 appointments a week. But let's actually break that down. When you're booking 25 to 30 appointments a week, you're creating this momentum for yourself, right? And you're making it a little bit more easier because you are going to struggle. You're going to get a lot more no's than yeses. You know, people are going to slam the door in your face. You know, you're going to drive 2 hours and, you know, you're going to get no-showed. It's going to happen. It's a part of the business, especially if you want to be a Hall of Fame. That's just how it is, all right? But, you know, I always say you're going to have a bad day, you're going to have a bad week, but you'll never, ever, and I've never, ever had a bad month in it. You know, a bad month for me now is probably, you know, making around 20K, you know, and I still have to pinch myself because, you know, prior I'm spending like a couple $100s a week on leads. Now I'm spending roughly anywhere from $2,000 to $2,500 a week on leads, but what goes into my account is anywhere from 25 to 30 a month. You know, and I'm not bowling, not yet, because all the money pretty much goes back into, you know, the business, so I can get to that point. All right. So pretty much with the appointments, you want to make sure that you're booking 25 to 30 appointments a week, and I'm sure you guys have heard that before. But that's non-negotiable if you want to be a Hall of Famer. You know, you can't negotiate that. You know, and again, on some occasions you're going to be booking 20 appointments a week. But for the most part, you want to be booking 25 to to 30 appointments. Now, here at Family First, we purchase leads, all right? And I'm not sure, I kind of got here a little bit late, but there are 3 different types of leads that, we pretty much generate. The first one is internet leads, all right? The next one is Facebook leads, and the last one is direct mailers. Now, you as an agent, you need to identify, your budget as an agent to purchase leads. Now, again, I purchase anywhere from I spend $2,000 to $2,500 a week on leads. That's going to help me become successful, when I'm on the road. Because again, I still get a lot of no's, but that one yes makes a big difference. That one yes is a quick $2,000 in my account, the next day. So you definitely want to purchase leads, direct mailers, Facebook, and internet leads, and know how to have a healthy budget, when you're purchasing the leads. Now, obviously, the more money you spend, the more money you're going to make, at Family First. And I do think that there is too much overhead. Initially, my second year, I was probably spending close to $3,000. And I just felt like it was just way too much overhead on the leads. I just couldn't keep up. It was so much. And we were getting spoiled with some of the direct mails. I was averaging probably like 10 to 15 for mortgage protections. But now, it's just been so diluted with mortgage protections. I'm probably getting in like maybe 3 to 5 a week on mortgage protections. But what I did was I had to adjust. I had to, I'm getting more final expense leads, just spending a little bit more on that because the mortgage protections have went down. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. As a Hall of Famer, the biggest thing is just staying consistent and staying active. Especially if you're first starting, beginning, you want to stay active and just helping yourself out because you want to try to hit the first 100 appointments. All right. You as an agent will know what you want to do by hitting your
You're experiencing more chargebacks versus the mortgage protection where someone actually bought a home and they probably have a little bit more money. Like the lead basis, would you say like there's more that are chargebacks, there's more that are not chargebacks? Have you felt that?
Not really. I would say I felt like there were more chargebacks with my mortgage protection. I think the only big difference with the final expense is I would get more like $60 smaller premiums, smaller premiums. Rather than the mortgage protection taking over that home, I'm getting more of a $100 premium, $150, $200 premium, a month. But that, other than that, it's kind of hard to tell. Some weeks yes, but some weeks no.
Got it.
But yeah. Come on, guys. I know you guys have questions. Come on. Got any questions? No questions?
Touching on what he was saying about chargebacks. Basically, and Steve mentioned that at the beginning, if you do the right thing for the client and you try to sell solid business, because it is very, very important that doing the right things for the right reasons, and you have that communication open with the client, you can reduce that. There's 2 types of agents. The ones that they're gonna go and sell what is convenient to them, and the one that is going to sell what is convenient, what the customer really needs.
Right, and I call them buyers and quoters.
Yeah, and that is very important because in this business you can be wrapped up and trying to sell and sell a lot, but then the persistence drops.
Right.
Because you're kind of pushing the people to something that they really don't need.
That's actually a good point.
And I have seen that throughout the years. The most important thing is and I communicate. The good thing about this platform is, you see, when you lose a client, whether it's
and it's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
30% of your
when you lose a client, let's talk about final expense, but it applies to everything. There's 2 reasons they drop. In my case, a lot of the time is the kids.
The kids.
If I can involve their kids in the conversation, I have a better shot. But a lot of the time they go and tell them, oh, I bought this shirt, oh, you don't need that.
You don't need it. I'll take care of it. Why I need to speak to
That's
my
the
kid
number one
before.
enemy.
Right.
The other one is because somebody comes and offers them the same amount or more amount for the money.
Right.
So that's why I normally tell them, I have this that offers you this and this and this, but I also have this.
Right, and I would get a lot of that, and because we sell a lot of America, and America is a little bit more.
Yeah.
But if I were to explain to the client why it's a little bit more in terms of, it includes a lot of the riders.
Yeah.
You have this, and that. That's why it's a little bit more, because all the riders are built in. They understand. And I explained to them, as of now, I'm not gonna ever send anybody over here, but if anybody else does come over here, it's not me. And sometimes, they still call saying, oh, I had Joe Small over here, he said that he was your supervisor. I get that a lot. He said that he was your supervisor, and he wanted to make sure that, he put you on the right, or that I put them on the right policy. And they try to dissect, the policy, and, you get a lot of back and forth. But, when you're in the home, you're explaining to the client again, making sure that they understand, even double asking them, do you understand what you have, right? You're not going to get that, that back and forth.
Yeah, I always tell them, if somebody shows up here, I'm your guy. Call me.
Right.
I tell them the only bad thing about this transaction, you're not going to get rid of it.
You're not going to get rid of it.
That's what I tell them,
Right.
and it works. It really works.
Yep. As long as it works, that's the main thing. That's the main thing. Anything else, guys? Come on, you're making my job easy. Come on.
So you primarily doing in-home?
I am doing in-home. I would say 98% in-home. On some days where I don't have as much appointments, I do, take a couple of calls. And that's another thing I do recommend. If you're starting off and you're going to be doing telesales, try to do in-home. Maybe for a couple of weeks. Because telesales is hard. And it's like night and day. I know a lot of people think that, because I'm going to be home, I get to not have to drive, and it's totally different. Totally different. The tonality, the questions that you ask, how you talk, you want to get to the point, even knowing how to navigate, on your laptop, the conversation, because they can just hang up with you just like that. So, it kind of helps out if you're face-to-face and you're able to get those kinks out, when you're face-to-face.
Yeah, when you go to you have to spend more money.
Right, a lot more money. A lot more money. So that's another thing, definitely. But I would always recommend just, maybe go in-home for a couple of weeks, or even the first 100 appointments. And if you want to do something like that, then transition to, telesales. And we have a great trainer here, Steve and, Tierre, definitely help you with telesales. So.
Got a question live. They said if they're booking 25 to 30 appointments, what's your close ratio usually?
My close ratio. I would say, 30% usually drop, anywhere from 20 to 25% drop. So anywhere from my close ratio, I would say 70, 75%. So, and that's been consistent for the most
Well,
part.
I think what they mean is you're talking how much you keep, your persistency. Close ratio, the percentage of how many you close. Like if you sit with 20, how many?
How much? Okay. So last week, I closed out 10 policies. I sat down with 20 people. I had a couple no-shows, but that's still a good week. That's actually a really good week. But yeah, so I closed out anywhere from, on average, 8 to 10 on a good week, maybe 11 to 15 a week. So, yeah. And then again, you still have the guys that call you up. Like you said, they spoke to their kids, they don't want to do it. Or, we go over the financial inventory and they come back, or they can't afford it. But even though you see the budget of a couple of $100, just having to explain to them again how important this is. This is not a bill, this is an investment. You're investing it on yourself to help your family. You pay a little to get, a lot more. So.
Would you agree that, like, in that scenario, you kind of take emotion out, do you get really high when you make a sale, and like really low when you don't, or
Right.
you kind of keep it?
Well, I try to keep an even queue, especially in the home. I think one of the biggest things when you're in the home, and I feel like because I'm not a salesperson, I don't get up and talk the best, but I feel like when I'm in the home, you try to find that common bound, with the client, and I feel like they trust me and they like me, for whatever, different issues when I'm in the home, you want to have that common bound and have them understand, what the policy is and have that understanding as to their why. Once you understand their why, and again, I'm sure you've heard this, plenty of times, but it really does help. When you understand their why, you're able to pinpoint, what they're needing. And, I walk out of the home sometimes and, I get clients telling me, Orlando, thank you so much. I've sat down with, several different agents, but I feel like, I understand what this policy is, and I feel like, you're not just trying to sell it to me. You've explained it and I'm comfortable with it. Thank you. Any more questions?
There's another one on here. Nobody has. Just a shout out to you, Orlando. When you were coming up before dropping 2,000 per week on leads, how much were you spending per week?
So my first batch was probably, I think, like $300. And again, I always say I have to pinch myself, but I would try to make it at least $500 a week. And I was buying a lot of second chance leads. Now there is, a gold mine in a second chance lead. You have to work them harder, because you're going to get a lot of hang-ups when you're calling. You're not going to get any, nobody's going to pick up. So I like to door knock them. I was door knocking them a lot, and in between door knocks, I was, as some of the new leads were coming in or some of the older leads, I was calling them in between, cities. If I'm in that particular area, I would try to call them. They don't pick up, I'm door knocking them. So I would say anywhere from, financially, if you're strapped for cash, it is possible. It's just going to be harder. But again, I was spending anywhere from $300 to $500. If you can, put in a couple of $100 extra dollars into it, it would definitely help your chances. But if you can, on average, $500, $500 to $800. So, yeah.
For new-time agents, for first-time agents rather, what would you recommend or suggest for the type of leads that they should start off with? For instance, you say like at least your first 100 appointments. Those first 100 appointments, should it consist of all of it, mortgage protection, annuities, life insurance, or final expense solely?
That's a good question. I would definitely say, especially if you're new into the industry, start off with, final expense for the first couple of weeks. If you do feel, and speak to your upline, that's what the upline is there for. But if you do feel like you can jump right into mortgage protections, everybody's different. Everybody's different. But for me, I think that helped me out tremendously because, again, I didn't have an insurance background. And I didn't understand mortgage protections and what it does. But as you're going along, things start to, make sense. Certain questions, some of the things that kind of connect, when you're selling mortgage protection to final expense. But I would definitely say start off with, final expense. Some of the lead vendors that I use are, lead concepts for mortgage protection, but they also sell final expense. With mailers, if you're planning on getting mailers, you're gonna have to wait a couple of weeks. So I like a lot of the Facebook leads. Some of them might not come in as frequent, and that's another thing. If you are planning on, getting leads, call up the lead vendor first, okay? Speak to an account representative, ask them, what's it looking like in your area? Because, sometimes in the past when I first started, I'm thinking I'm gonna get, 10 to 15 leads the first couple of days, and I might get one or two, and normally they're pretty on point. They're gonna be honest with you, especially some of the ones that, we're using. They'll tell you, hey, this particular area is a little bit slow. And, the more you're able to expand, because I do know some of these when they come, well, I don't want to drive an hour away. I don't want to drive 2 hours away. You're kind of hurting yourself. It's definitely, it's a lonely business, but, that's what you have to do. It just comes with the territory. You don't have to drive 3 or 4 hours, but, if you can just have that perimeter, and that's my perimeter, 2 hours south, 2 hours west, and 2 hours north. That's the area that I try to stay in. And there's some times where I have to drive to St. Augustine because that's where the leads had brought me. And it happens. I've driven 3 hours away and the person is not there. you know, so it can get a little bit upsetting. But again, I'd rather be doing this than be cooped up in a 9-to-5 job, behind a cubicle, my boss screaming at me because I was a couple of minutes late. That's done with, you know, so it just happens. That comes with everyone. But yeah, the answer to your question is, I would say definitely Facebook leads finally. Speak to your upline. Your upline would, you know, definitely give you the right, you know, direction. Jump into mortgage protection. So, but as if you're looking for, I would say, to make sure that you want to have a lot of numbers on the spot, maybe instant internet leads, definitely. So, more questions?
Good job.
All right, guys. Thank you.
All right, so we're gonna wrap things up and kind of just open up and wait. Trying.
Steve, excuse us, we have somebody to meet, so thank you very much.
Better sell them.
Yeah.
Whoever you meet. Just wanted to kind of, you know, wrap it up with questions. Hello, dear. How are you? Steve, just
Again.
wait a minute. When was it? Oh, you're right. Just open it up for questions. Anything from Marty, anything from me, anything from Tierre, Orlando, and then go hit the phones. So anything.
I got Marty questions.
Okay, Marty, we got Marty questions.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So I already did a link. You guys merged, but I've never used it at all. Because didn't know how to market it.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to market it.
Sure.
Right? So now I figured out an opportunity to market it. So do I have to reactivate underneath him, or how does it work?
So you had a Ethos previously?
Sure.
Yeah, so.
To the phone numbers that don't even work anymore, for the people that haven't signed up and
Yeah. So we have, what you probably came in through was our SMB channel. So it was an agent direct channel. That now is kind of, it's not shut down, but it's just fully automated. There's really no support there. What you would have to do is, have you partnered officially with FFL, or you?
Yeah, I have.
So all you have to do is you have to reparent. It's a reparenting process. So just send Corinne. So we'll, who can help him? I got it. So you just send FFL corporate a note saying, hey, I want to reparent under FFL with my Ethos portal, and then it's done. So we do tons of that. So as an example, when we first contracted with Sean, there were probably 5,000 agents that had already been direct with us, and part of the deal I worked with Sean is if they want to be FFL Ethos, great. So we just migrated all those people over to the FFL partnership. Yeah.
And then, where do you buy the leads? The $10 leads you're talking about?
In the CRM.
In the CRM, the Integrities ILC CRM. Yeah.
So I just sent you a text you, email Margot, because when we contract someone through anybody or Ethos, we send Corinne and corporate an email, and then they send you a link. And then if you don't have access to that on the CRM, ask her for that also.
Okay.
Because you need to log in, you go on the CRM, and then you see.
Because through FFL you'll get full advance, like everything. It's definitely perks.
And then you said you already have a customer service team that's set up, so if someone like halfway finishes.
Yeah, we have a full stack CX team that will reach out to the client if they start the app and leave, we'll call them and close the deal. Or not, but we have 25% conversion rate.
And then, so if someone does finish the app, and you have someone else that follows up behind and say, welcome aboard type of deal?
There's nothing to do, it takes 12 minutes to own a policy.
Well, I understand. I know if there's a follow-up call after they've done, to say, hey, welcome, you need anything
Well, we
else?
have what's called life cycle comms, so like they're gonna get all kinds of communication, like thanking them, welcoming them. So we have
It's all automated,
Yeah,
not
it's
like
all
an actual
automated.
person going. Okay.
Each company sends out a physical policy, or is it only digital?
Ours is digital. Yeah. Yeah, that's in the client, so the clients have their own portal too that he goes.
Okay. And we can obviously recruit on that. Ethos as well.
Correct.
Yeah, that kind of helps me out.
I've gotten a couple of
Ethos text recently, and I was hesitant to click on because I wanted to make sure I did it under FFL, but most likely was that.
It was from us, yeah.
Yeah.
To try and open your portal?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely from us.
Under FFL?
Yeah.
Okay.
You went through and done your contract?
Yeah.
Right, so you know. I actually wanted to ask you, I just got an email, ironically enough, from Ethos, and it talked about the all-new leads tab.
Yeah, so that, what that is you can load leads into your.
Oh, that's what.
Yeah, so we opened up the fact that you can take any lead platform or any leads you have, you can load them into our portal and automatically prospect those through your Ethos URL. So that's why I was talking about we're the sauce on the steak, right? You buy these 100 leads, you drive 3 hours, they don't meet, send them a link. Like, hey, I know you weren't there. Instead of being pissed at them, I know you weren't there, sorry, we didn't meet. I've partnered with this company, you can buy that insurance I talked to you about in 12 minutes.
I legit had it the other day, I had a guy, a mortgage lead, and like, he's like, I can't meet, I just don't have time. He's like, can you send me the numbers? And I'm trying to overcome it. I said, you know what, I'm gonna send you this link, go through it, do your thing. And he's like, all right, cool. He's like, call me on, I think I got to call today, actually, and see, but maybe we'll do it together.
Yeah,
You know?
great, nice.
We'll see if he buys. But yeah, I like that analogy of sauce on the steak, because it's really adding something else.
Yeah.
And I think if you look at FFL from when I started or when it started to now, I mean, good God, like the amount of ways that you can get people insurance at this point.
Your greatest asset is time.
It's crazy.
You can monetize time through technology. That's where the real 10X happens.
Yes, really quick, Marty. For when you call in, I've had this a couple of times with True Stage, right? Where I would call in regarding, you know, for a client, and to get the service, they try to reroute in a way to sell the client. And I said, okay, hey, can we just finish the policy? They said, well, they have to go online, but they go through me. I said, okay, want to make sure will I get the credit for it? The answer is no.
Yeah, you do get the credit for it. If they ever, so we've had probably like once a quarter, we have an issue with True Stage. So we just document those, get people in trouble, and pay people. So we handle all that.
Okay.
So it's humans.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You feel it because, you know,
We're
when you're
going there
a
actually
agent,
next week, and that's one of, so there's, it's still recording?
I think we're live.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Say it off.
Well, yeah, so we're working on that with True Stage. Yeah. We're gonna have that solved.
Steve, I got a question for you
Yeah.
too. You do the live transfer, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just started messing around with that stuff. So I'm trying to see if you can give me some insight. I only did it one day, right? So it's not enough. But I spent some money, did about $800. Did about 12, right? So obviously I'm doing something wrong. So how are you handling those?
Who do you use?
Data Lot and Smart Financial.
Okay.
I ran both.
Got it.
So
what would you say was the #1 hang up? Like, at what stage were you getting clients?
I think maybe 2 or 3 we got to the point of getting through the application, right? But then the banking was an issue. Social Security was not so much of an issue. I think the majority of it was thinking about it.
Sure.
I made a huge mistake of using toolkits, right? There were some that probably should have gotten done through maybe doing a term because that's what they wanted. Because toolkits didn't have it available, I figured no. So I learned that lesson. But yeah, just wanted to see what you're doing, how you're handling it, you know, because those are expensive.
Yes.
So, but I don't mind paying it because you're getting enough, you know, if you get 10 opportunities to talk a day, you're in good shape, right? So just trying to figure that part out.
Here's the way I work them. So when I'm dialing, I turn them on. So I'm booking regular appointments and I'm getting those coming in. So the way I look at all of the telesales and transfers is like my time, and you said it earlier, is a lot more finite than if I was in front of you. So I got to be very quick and concise to keep your, you know, engaged with me. So the first thing I'll say is, you know, hey, my name's Steve. I see you're over in, you know, North Carolina. Date of birth is this, right? And then they'll agree. And then I'll say, tell me a little bit about what you're looking for in your life insurance, right? So now I'm getting to that why right away. And then I'll say, perfect. So I'm a broker. I work with different companies. We're going to figure out who's going to cover you based on health and what's going to be most affordable. And then I'll go, have you ever had anything major, heart, stroke, cancer, right? Now, the toolkit thing, I'm not a fan of it either. I think it's good. It's almost like GPS. If you don't know where the hell you're going, okay, it's cool. But if you kind of have an idea where you're going, it's not so cool because it's going to take you a longer route.
Right.
So I go through that health quick, then I'm going to go through the budget quick, and I keep talking about things like affordability, finding what's affordable, whatever, going back to the why, the beneficiary, because to me, insurance is sold on emotion, right? So like, how emotional are you able to get sitting with someone, right? Pretty emotional. I can't really do that if I'm on the phone with you, so I have to find ways in the word tracks of, hey, your beneficiary, your daughter.
I've noticed that too. One wrong word,
Yes.
you almost have to be perfect. Like for example, this morning, messed up because we got through it, got social, ready to pay, right? Because I got him through it before I gave him a quote.
Yeah, don't do that.
Right, so yeah, so I probably should have did that first, right?
Yes.
So because I didn't find out the budget first, instead I gave him what he wanted, the number was too high, you gotta click,
Correct.
right? So if I would have handled that differently, I probably would have gotten it this morning.
Because now, in 9 times out of 10, that's gonna happen, because in that first initial question where I ask what you're looking for, I wanna know what you're looking for, but if you tell me you're 68 and you have a heart attack and you want a $200,000 term, like, I'm gonna then initially say, okay, so here's the way that's gonna work. There's not gonna be a way to get a term, but typically people in your situation are gonna get a whole life, and we're gonna go through those options, and you're kind of like educating, right?
Right.
Now, again, if the guy some people want what they want, and it is what it is.
Right.
But if I educate you a little bit there, and then I'm talking in more of the language that we're gonna be able to get you, hey, whatever, 30,000, 40,000, and I'm basically, things I like to say when it comes to term and whole, most of our wholes go up to like 50K, right? So if somebody wants like 100 on a term or higher, I'm usually gonna say things like, if I got you a 10-year and you outlived the 10-year and you paid more than what the whole cost, now you paid all that money and it ran out and you have no cash value, and now you need insurance again. Right. So I'm kind of educating you in a way that's smartening you up of, we don't want to spend more money. So whatever they can't get is always more money.
Are you giving them numbers before going to the application, or
Yes.
go through the application, then give them?
Yes, so what I'll do is, I'll go health, I'll go budget, and then, let's say we're looking for our whole life.
Right.
I'll pull up, let's say I do Americo first. So I pull up Americo and I run the quote, and I'll always go like a lower number first. So I'll say, let's say they're looking burial. I'll say typically people get between like 15 and 20, and then some people like to go higher, and this policy could go all the way to 40. So then I'll basically be like, okay, 15 and 20 is this, and if you really wanted to stretch it, 40 is this. Instead of me saying the highest number first, because then you're gonna get a click.
Right.
I'm gonna go to the lowest number first, and I'm only gonna maybe give them like those 3 or 2 options. Now, I'm also, if I do the budget first, and you tell me you save $200,
Right.
I'm not gonna tell you $400 a month. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Or 200.
Or, right. I'm gonna say this, that's in the budget, and then the balking can be, well,
Look forward as fast as you can, find out what they want, create the need, give the quote, then collect
health first.
information.
Health first.
So don't ask for social or none of that stuff until you get the quote.
Here's what you can do about that. So let's say I get through those things,
Right.
and I'm gonna say, okay, so what we're gonna do here to get the policy is, we're gonna put in your basic information, let's say I'm doing America. Basic information, your social, the bank you're gonna use. Oh, and actually, let me go back. One of the things I ask early on, after they tell me what they want, is I say, are you working, retired, or disabled? And why do I do that? For 2 reasons. One, if they're disabled, I'm gonna ask, do you use a regular bank account, or do you get all your money on an SSDI card? Because that tells me, boom, if they tell me SSDI, AIG, Great Western, Tierre, help me out if there's somebody else on this thing, Prosperity, right?
I think prosperity.
So those 3. So now I know where I'm gonna go, right? Just off of that alone, and if they tell me they have a regular bank account, okay, cool. I typically run Americo, because they have the tech signature, AMM because they have the voice signature. Aetna's got, what is Aetna? Is Aetna voice? I can't remember. No, Aetna's email. Email. I'm gonna live in that world, and then typically AIG, you're gonna read a lot of AIG because of, they're gonna be in major health, and then with the SSDI too.
Right, yeah, you get it.
So now I know that stuff. So basically I'm doing like almost like a process of elimination as I'm going through it. And I've already now said bank account early on. So now when I gotta go back to bank account, yeah, is somebody, a lot of people gonna not give it to you? Sure.
Right.
But at least I said it here, so like if they didn't want to do it there, like I said.
You give yourself the best shot. I mean, all that matters, I mean, if you're going for, if you're taking 10 calls a day, as long as you're getting 3 out of 10,
Correct.
you're gonna be good. Even 2 out of 10, you're fine.
Right.
So as far as the lead strategy goes, when you look at the numbers, right, you have 2 choices. One, you could buy the raw, cheaper leads, and then you can hit the phones all day long and book the appointments, or you could buy the lead transfers, right?
Or you could do both.
So that's what I'm at. So if you can do, so I ran multiple businesses before. I'm used to spending money. I get it. Doesn't bother me. It's just what is the smartest way to do it. So if you want to hit a certain goal, does it make sense to do 10 transfers a day and do your odds that way 5 days a week?
In my opinion, at your stage of the game, no. Because I'll tell you why. Because it's the most expensive, and the mistakes that you're making, they're costly mistakes. If you
Right,
made a
that's what I'm
mistake
noticing now.
on a $5 beat up old whatever lead, who cares?
Right, that's what I'm trying to figure out, dude.
So a mix,
Grind it out.
a mix is good, right? So like, if I'm booking my appointments, now are you gonna go in the field at all or no?
I don't think I want to. I'm so used to working remotely, right? Especially like, I'm used to selling on Zoom. It's what I do all day long. So that's what I was trying to do. That's why originally, I bought 22 states because I knew that I was gonna go in and try to do live transfers and do things in higher volume. But it's a possibility. It's not like a hard no.
Yeah, and that's fine. You can do that. It's just the people that do only virtual spend more money.
Right.
Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah,
Just
no,
gonna
I'm
spend
cool
more
with
money.
it. Just,
That's all.
like you said, those mistakes are expensive, right? To go,
Yeah, I wouldn't do that right away. I'm not gonna go tell a new agent, hey, go get on call transfers and spend, $800 in 10 minutes. Like, no.
Right.
Because you're gonna, because again, all these little strategy things are the things that take you. So now, if I'm going through all that stuff, then I'm gonna let them know, okay, cool, here's the process of an application. I've already told you everything I need, so I can get all of that out of the way. So it's now not a surprise when I ask you for your social or your banking.
and then it's that one word. That's it.
Correct. So now I'm gonna put you, so America, to me, they're the easiest on a call transfer, for me. I'm gonna put in your basic stuff. Do you get text messages, right? Because I wanna make sure they get a text message. I go through it, put all the stuff, the text, do the health questions, beneficiary, banking. Literally, you can do an America app in like 3 minutes, like if you're fat. It's like, it's really, really simplistic. And I'm letting them know by the time we're done, we should have an answer for the most part. Now let's say they get declined. Then I'm gonna pivot AMM, because AMM will be a little bit more lenient. That would probably go to underwriting, like usually. Sometimes you get somebody to get approved, or like Aetna. So to me, if I'm doing call transfers, I'm typically like America, Aetna, AMM. Because America or AIG because of the SSDI.
I think the biggest rebuttal now from the experience of doing let's say in total 15 of them and doing 15. Figure out what to do with that. So
Here's the way, number one, mentally, go into it, and the things that you say throughout the call are around, we're getting insurance today. Like, to me, it's weird. I tell people, like, this is weird. You called for insurance and we're not getting it? Like, and I work with every company and we're gonna find your budget? Like, it's weird. So, there's some things, word tracks throughout that I'm saying, like, when we submit the application, when we get you covered with the affordable stuff. Now again, is all this stuff gonna get through every objection? No, it's not. Right. But it's gonna, you'll find that it's gonna help a little bit more than it's gonna hurt.
I mean, it only has to work a few times.
Correct.
That's all that matters.
You only have to work a few times. And then the reality is too, you'll do call transfers, you'll get ones that call up. I had a call transfer, I had a no-show, and I pulled over and turned it on. And I get this lady, it's the craziest story. She's in Utah, it's like in December. Nicest lady ever, right? So maybe by Utah, because they're really, really nice. So she gets me on the phone, she goes, hey, I want to get some insurance, like I'm just concerned, I want to make sure my kids are good, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, awesome, sweet. So I go through some stuff, go through a budget, she had a pretty decent budget, I think she owned a business, and we stack like Americo and Am. I think in total $3 and change a month. And then she calls me later that day and says, hey, my daughter's gonna pay for another policy. So I did like mutual. Then she goes, my other daughter's gonna get another one on me. So I did like Aflac. I literally think I wrote this lady 7 policies. It was like legit like $900 a month.
And the kids were getting it on their mom?
Yeah.
So this is another thing of like just lack of knowledge in the business, right? Because I had a guy, he called for his dad, wanted to get it for his dad. Dad was being annoying, wouldn't give up his social. He wanted to pay for it and everything, right? But there's no way around that. If he's taking it out on his dad, he needs to still.
Yeah, because there does have to be a signature of.
And the father still has to sign,
yeah,
right?
because you have a payer and the insured.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that.
So yeah, there was nothing that he could do. His dad wants to.
Right. But here's what you just said. You just said the magic words. You're learning.
Right.
And you're failing forward and making mistakes.
Right.
So I would have a mixture in a lead flow, call transfers, and some beat up stuff that you can just call all day.
The only reason I was just looking at the math and at the cost, right? The cost for a live transfer is probably the same as a cost for an appointment if you factor in the no-shows. Maybe the no-show, the lower cost leads are actually probably more expensive at the end of the day if you do the math, right?
It depends. I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Right.
Here's the thing that I try to not do. I try to not overthink that.
Right.
Because to me, give me a mixture of everything, and I'm just gonna go to town.
Right.
Like, I'll sit in this office from 8 to 1. I'll have 50 leads. I probably will get 4 to 5 call transfers. I'll probably close 2. And then I'll book, whatever, 10, 12 appointments.
Do you think it's better on the cheaper leads to book the appointment rather than go for the one call close? Do you find
I think you
easier
go,
to sell
I think you always, anytime you have somebody that's ready to do it, do it. So I'm pushing one call close.
Okay.
And then I'll book the appointment.
Makes
Not
sense.
the other way. If you're ready to do it, like I'm pushing you, we're doing it.
But I like what Steve said, is that, kind of diversify everything. The only reason why is because I ended up purchasing a lead on Smart Financial, what you mentioned, and he was interested in a product. Couldn't really close him. I said, hey, look, you know what? I'm actually nearby and everything else. And then my close for him was, hey, would you, since I am nearby, would you like me to hand deliver you a hard copy of your policy, or would you like it emailed to you? He said, oh, okay, hand deliver. I said, okay, not a problem. I'll be in your area at this time and so forth. So I walked in the household, told him, saw his wife, said, hey, do you have something? And then I ended up coming out with 3 policies within one household.
Nice.
Everything else. He got discouraged because he couldn't get approved for Mutual of Omaha. He got AIG and everything else. So I sold his wife Mutual of Omaha, the son Mutual of Omaha, and then him AIG. So he's like, oh man, I want to walk out with something.
Right, they get everything that they need.
So it's a good thing. You know what I mean?
Another little thing that I like to do when I'm asking them for if it's social or something, like right around the time when like I've already said it, but right around the time I'm gonna get it, I'll text them, like I have a digital business card, like you can, give you something because you're giving me something. Because it's also showing like I have credibility, I'm not afraid, like I'm not trying to scam you, you know what I mean? I think there's also things you have to say throughout call transfers, like early on if I say, I'm a broker, I'm licensed in 45 states, I work with 25 A+ rated insurance companies. Because what does that also do? I'm like, oh, I want to go shop around. Well, with who? Like, I work with every insurance company in America.
Yeah, I've been getting that and trying to, that's what I've been saying too, like there is no reason, that's exactly what we're doing today, is I'm shopping around for you, right? Between all the carriers that are available in your state, there's no reason for you to do that. And with the credibility stuff, what I've been doing is I'm big in automation, right? That's what I do. So every time, we get somebody on the phone, whatever state it is, I just tag them in our system and it automatically sends them a picture, like a professional picture of myself, a message, and then a physical copy of the license. So I'm not sure, do you think that's, should I continue to do that, or is that not even really?
Shows credibility. The one thing that I'd say in everything too, don't waste a lot of time. So like, and I've made this mistake a million times.
Yeah.
A lot of times you go through like that whole process, right? And then you didn't do a good job of asking what you need early, and then you ask for it, and then it's a problem, and then they don't want to do it. So like, my point would be, I don't want to waste a ton of time on one person. Like here's the traditional thing that a lot of agents do really wrong in dialing. Like they book one appointment, they dial 50 times, they book one appointment. And then they like call their upline, I got a 50-year-old, he's this age, he's this. You just wasted all this time.
Right.
You could have just wrote it down, and I'm gonna see you tomorrow. And then got back on the phone with the next one. So my point on a call transfer is, if it ain't happening, goodbye.
Just let it go.
I got a million other people out there. Worry about the masses, not the asses.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
What else? And then we'll wrap it up. I thought this was well. This was good. I want to thank Marty and Tierre and Orlando. Last thing, who is not registered for convention? Did you register for it? You should go to convention. Why didn't you register?
No, I found my one.
What's your name, by the way? I'm Steve.
Michael.
Mike, where do you live?
Boca.
Oh, okay. Like a hop, skip, and a jump.
Nice
Right
to
on my
meet
alley. Right. So everybody else is pretty much registered?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Here's the one thing I'll say about convention. You didn't register?
no.
Why not?
I am new to the industry.
That's the reason you go to convention, because you're new. Where do you live?
Oh, North Miami?
Oh, you're like right there.
Yeah, I'm right.
Right around the corner. Here's what I'll tell you about convention. The thing I like about our conventions is, yes, there's a lot of motivation and all that stuff. Motivation is great, but motivation only goes so far.
Right.
The minute you get you knock on a door and they slam the door in your face, like the motivation kind of blows up the window, right? I think Marty put it very well early. Whatever you're looking for, the niche, like if you're new and you're trying to get a lot, or if you're seasoned and you're trying to get something little, there's kind of something for everybody. And if you truly want to do this at a high level, like the amount of people there that have sold a bunch, recruited a bunch, integrity part, like there's so many people there that will help you. It's vital to be there. And I don't care what it costs. My first convention, I don't know, maybe it cost me $2,500, like flight, Vegas, hotel, like best investment I ever made, by far. If they could have charged 10 grand for it, it still would have been the best investment I ever made. So, you should go. You should look close. All right, appreciate you all coming. Thanks so much, and hang out, do whatever, dial. Awesome. I knew it.